We're live. Okay. Officially, I think I am. Okay, so here we are. It is February 17th, 2025, and I'm going to try to continue these ding dang tier lists. It's been, I think, like 2 weeks ish since I tried doing one of these. We got part way through doing the stuff I read. I say stuff because it's not just books, visual novels, any comics. We started that and then it got interrupted. So what I would like to do today is I want to finish the stuff I read and then either in continuing the stream or doing a second video, I want to go over games, which would leave shows and movies for another time. So that's the plan. Hopefully it works. Um the annoying thing is when I turned on my computer, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get to a couple of these. My computer had restarted, like, it had updated, which means I had to get my tabs back opened, which also means I had to re-put in the images, which also means because even though as I had them saved, they're in alphabetical order, when they uploaded, they're not in alphabetical order anymore, and it bothers me immensely that they're not in alphabetical order, but I'm also like, this is annoying. I already fucked with this once. I'm not gonna fuck with this again. So when we do these, they're gonna be out of order. It is what it is. Sorry, I'm trying to remember that episode from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, like with Cell, when he's making the Cell games. Like, what is the line he says? He's just like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. It bothers me immensely. Let it go, Cell. You've got shit to do. That's kind of where I'm at here right now. But we're gonna share the screen and hopefully get this to work. Okay, so here we are. We're back in books. Again, stuff I read. I also had to re-put everything here, but this feels right. I remember putting Alice in S. I had Claude in B, and again, this is just the VN, not going into the anime itself. But then when I started talking about Class of '09, the flip side, I realized I don't want Clannad in the same tier as that. I like it too much. So I'm going to put it in A. I had just started talking about Dune Messiah. So let's get into Dune Messiah. Which, funny enough, I think the day I started recording this is I think I told this story in one of my Thursday videos where I almost got into like a really small fender bender, and I'm 90% sure the driver of the other car was Timothy Chalamet. Because he looks out from his car and almost kind of like, what the hell just happened? I'm like, wait a second, that dude looks really the son of a game. And I don't know. It's again the fact that no one actually got hurt and that the cars didn't end up colliding means I can look back and laugh. If that was Timothy Chalamet, like I'm sorry, Tim. If it wasn't Timothy Chalamet, I'm still sorry to whoever that was. But I'm glad nothing bad happened. But let's actually get into the book. Let's talk about Dune Messiah. I read this. I mean, clearly I read it last year, 2024. I read it. It was either right before I took, like, right before I started studying for the bar exam, or it was at the beginning of me studying for the bar exam. Because what I very specifically remember is I read the book. I had a lot of notes, and it just kind of said, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. I don't really want to make a video on it. Tell you what, after the bar, let's revisit this, and then I just never did. The short version of my thoughts on Dune Messiah are this. I really enjoyed what the book had to offer from a thematic perspective. I really liked that idea of here is your Messiah, here is your God, here is your Savior. Has that really like how much better are things now that we have one? It is this critique of having a Messiah, kind of a critique of religion. And I genuinely found it, even as a religious person, I genuinely found it really interesting. When it came to the actual plot and the characters and like the machinations going behind the scenes and whatnot, which is shit I would usually love. Like I love political intrigue. I love all those kinds of like machinations and the villains working together. Like this is how we're gonna defeat this all-seeing hero and shit. Like it's on paper, it's really, really cool. But for whatever reason, as I was reading it, I just didn't feel that invested. Like I just wasn't that invested in whatever Paul was doing. I really wasn't that invested. What's his sister's name? I think it's Aaliyah. In the first book, with her being, like, a literal child who was just born, but with all the knowledge of all, like, the Bene Gesserit and shit, she's so weird, and it made her really interesting. And here, she felt a lot less interesting. It's just like, "Oh, look, Duncan, Idaho has been reborn as a zombie." Not quite, kinda ish, and she's like, "I know you're going to betray me. Also really hot." And that's what a lot of her arc is. Like, I feel like I'm oversimplifying it, but that's also kind of what it was. And like this way less interesting. Jessica was my favorite character from the first book, and she is not in the sequel. She really doesn't do much of anything in the sequel. Though it is interesting because one of the big things in Dune Messiah is they are trying to have a baby and it's not working because Princess is it Irulan, I think is her name, is I don't know exactly what it is she's doing. She's, like, giving her some herbs or some food that is making Shawnee infertile so she can't have children because she's the one that wants to have the kids with Paul. So, the Bene Gesserit line, and they're like, "That's what I was raised for. How dare you not let me do this," etcetera, etcetera. So, the fact that in the movie, Shawnee leaves Paul, like, I'm not really sure how you're gonna do Dune Messiah now. Is she gonna be part of the group that's trying to assassinate him? That'd be different, but okay. I don't know if you're gonna try to do the other 2. I think I heard that they're only gonna try to do a trilogy, so they might just do a completely different ending. I don't know. But, I really just don't have a lot to say about Dune Messiah. It really was man, I think this is thematically super interesting. I just wish I was more invested in what was going on, which I'll say this. The way I'm trying to do my videos now, aside from these, obviously, this is just completely off the cuff, pure unadulterated rambling. If you're here and watching, I appreciate that. But what I'm trying to do now is like when I read a book or I play a game, like I finished Paper Mario a couple days ago and I got my notes ready to go. I'm very excited to talk about it 'cause I love Thousand Year Door so much. Is not trying to just go ramble like, all right, let me talk about the plot for a bit. Let me talk about blah 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 and blah blah blah. I kind of want to just really hone in what is either the theme that I got from this, the vibe that I got from this, or both, and talk about that. Probably relate it to some other things that I find kind of similar. Like, why did it resonate with me as much as it did, or why didn't it resonate with me as much as I did? And I'm finding that doing those kinds of videos are A, making them more concise, which is probably appreciated, and two, I feel like I'm kind of enjoying them more. I love a good old-fashioned ramble, clearly. I'll say this, Product Horizons videos are definitely still gonna be very, very long. We'll get to you here in a Kaseki sec. But, I feel like if I had read Dune Messiah this year, or had started doing videos in this style last year, I would have really enjoyed making my Dune Messiah video. Unfortunately, just the timing of it was also again, with, like, the bar exam too. It I wasn't able to I don't wanna say, because I don't wanna say, like, that made me not engage with the material, I very clearly did, but I feel like if I had made a video on it the way that I'm trying to do them now, it would've almost kinda stuck with me more. Like, if I had talked about the Incal last year, I would've been like, "Yeah, it's fine, like, I enjoyed it, I had a good time with it, but I don't really know what else to say." And I'm like, "I wanna get into, like, the themes I found here because that's what made this story really interesting, also the" Um, I'm sorry, I don't really have much else to say, like, I'm gonna keep it in B, because to me, this is kind of the definition of what a B tier story or a B tier work of art is for me. I respect it a lot, but I respect it more than I like it. Like, it's definitely not below this, and I genuinely did not enjoy reading it enough to bump it up to an A as much as I would have liked to. Then we have, and again, just I put stuff in the middle of the screen before we officially rank it. I am not saying Toteno is B. Sorry, I'm looking at this. I'm like, I don't have a double S tier right now. I think I brought that up before. I might just kind of put all the S stuff in S and then see where we go. But you and me and her, also known as Toteno. I loved Toteno. I loved it so much. Kind of like I was just saying about Dune Messiah. It's like I'm glad I read it, but unfortunately, it didn't leave a lasting impact on me. This thing fucking has. I what was the video? It was the seconds video. It was I did it a few weeks ago. I think I literally started that video by quoting Toteno. Life is like a staircase. Just gotta keep climbing. That phrase has genuinely become one of my all-time favorite quotes, and I find it weirdly comforting. Like, in the context, it's kinda not supposed to be. It's very much a like, "Look, this is a linear story. You don't really have choices, you have the illusion of choice. Every step leads to the next one, every choice leads to the next one. There are no branching paths, there's kinda nothing else you can do. Here's your plot, you just keep going until you hit the end." Which feels very nihilistic, but I see it as kind of a more every choice you make leads to your next one, and you can see there's more stairs ahead of you. There is more stuff to climb. You can keep going. You don't always have time to think about, your alternate paths. You don't have time to focus on your regrets, the steps you didn't take. These are the steps you took, and they are what are guiding you to the next steps you're going to take. Just keep climbing. I love that. I can't even just say, like, I like that a lot. I love that. In terms of the actual story and whatnot, I love it. I find it so fascinating because I'm a sucker for a meta narrative. They don't always work because for example, I talk about it with Class of '09 here. That bit at the end where it's like playing God and you're God, you're the one making them do all these horrible things. I'm like, okay. I think I had said it too. I was like, if this was at the end of the first game or the second game where you can make some really heinous choices, it would have been more effective. But at the end here, and I was talking to Jose about it, he's like, I feel like it's kind of meant to be reflective of the whole series. Like, sure, I think that is probably the intent. But the fact that it comes in the game that is incredibly mean spirited, and again, I respect it for that because I feel like it's intentional and it does what it's trying to do. But at the end of the game, that is the most mean spirited, where you have the least amount of choices and it feels like your choices don't really matter. It doesn't work. Othono, on the other hand, is a metafictional look, or I don't know if that's the right word I wanted to use, but it's really looking at what a visual novel is, what a dating sim is. There are people who play these games just for the sexy stuff. Like, I just want to see cute, sexy, whatever girls or boys if it's like an Otome game. Assume that's how those work. And I want to get to the sexy stuff. I want to collect all the CGs. I want to find the fun stuff. And then when I do your route, I'm going to do your route and get all the stuff with you. And the idea that if you were like, obviously you're playing a game, it's numbers and code. But if you're doing that with a real person, that is fucked up. And what if they were real people? Like, what if someone in the game was aware that I am a character in a game. This is the protagonist, like this is the person I have to deal with, but I know there's a player and I know that the player is after me and trying to win my heart. and I finally let them in, and we get our happily ever after. And then they boot up the game again and start making other choices. They're not going after me anymore. They're going after someone else after promising me forever. And Miyuki doesn't like I was first made aware of Totoro not long after Doki Doki Literature Club came out because I heard of comparisons between the 2, and, like, Totoro wasn't translated yet. And I had seen that part in the game, like, when Miyuki kills, what's his name? Shuichi? Shinichi? I think Shinichi? Shuichi, I think, is Danganronpa 3, which now that I'm done with Paper Mario, my next game is gonna be Raincoat. I'm really excited to play Raincoat. Like, I feel like I it was like yesterday, like, I had a it was either I had a dream about Danganronpa or I just kind of, like, thought about it when I woke up in the morning. I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna start this." Like, I'm in my Kodaka mode, and I'm really excited, like, to play Raincoat and then play the new one when it comes out, I don't remember what it's called, like, the 100 or 1,000,000 thing in the school. Anyways, tangent. What was I saying? I was saying about Totoro, Doki Doki, thank you. Sorry, I need to drink some water real quick. Mm, okay. My point is this. I was made aware of it through Doki Doki Literature Club and the similarities between Miyuki and Monica. I was about to say, like, Monica. I'm like, "Who the fuck is that?" Miyuki and Monica. And I think I talked about this when I made a video on Toteno. I'm like, I love Doki Doki Literature Club. I know a lot of people give it shit. Teach their own. I have a lot of love for that story and it focusing on the horror nature. To me, and not to say that Toteno does not do that because Miyuki is terrifying when you get to that part of the game, but it really focuses to me on just visual novels. This is the medium. And really, like, putting it under a microscope, and I just found that super interesting. The way I was about to say sorry, I had, like, a couple things in my head about, like, why I like the way Toteno plays. I know I put it in book because it is still you're still mostly reading it, it's not really gameplay, it's just your choices and, like, a couple things you input into me, like, I'm not really gonna count that, but I like the way it works because it genuinely does not feel like the character is making the choice. It very often feels like I, as the player, am making that choice for him, which is, generally how it works in a VN. But that's kind of also how it works in the narrative, where you have a main character who's like, is very indecisive. So it's you that's doing this. It's not him that pursued Miyuki. It's you. It's not him that pursued Aoi. It's you. I love the crazy shit at the end of the game. I was like, okay, here is a number that fuck. What are the three numbers? It's your Miyuki number, which is a okay. So I think it's the Miyuki number is unique to every player because like that's just kind of how your game went. There's I think like another number that is randomly generated, but you're made aware of what it is like very early on. And then there's that constant number, which is but the Steam version of the game doesn't come with a manual. So when the game came out in English, in the YouTube video, like on the YouTube channel, like here's the announcement of the video. At the bottom of the description are just a bunch of numbers. And it's like there's no context whatsoever. And that's what it is. I'm like, I literally had to go onto Reddit to figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Went onto YouTube and found this shit. Like this just feels so cool. Like, just the, a like, nature of the game at that point. How do I wanna say it? It's shit like that that to me made me feel like there is genuinely no fourth wall in Toteno. And Doki Doki does something very similar with, like, having, like, to delete the character files and whatnot, and I think it's really, really cool. I think Toteno just does it a little bit better. I really, really loved it. It's like a staircase. It's just gonna keep climbing. Oh, what the hell? Oh, that was weird. Sorry. Just, don't mind me. Uh, I really, really just wanna put it up here. We're gonna have to wait a little bit, though, because, we're gonna have to wait a little bit before we do that. I mean, I don't know, a book, visual novel, technically different mediums of something somewhere I can maybe put them both in the plus, we'll see. Oh boy, Project Horizons. Let me just go ahead and say, first and foremost, I'm in uniform. I'm wearing black. Like, if I'm gonna talk about Project Horizons, I gotta make sure I'm wearing the blackjack shirt. So this is only volume one, the security mirror. Because I did not read any of Project Horizons outside of that last year. I wanted to, I planned to, I was gonna redo my worm videos for the worm tier list, and I just never did. That's on me. I still haven't started Blood and Stars yet. I want to at some point, eventually, just but keeping only with volume one. Here's the weird thing. Rereading it, if you see my Project Horizons videos, and as I always say when I'm saying, like, if you've seen one of my videos, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think I did the math and like totaled the amount of time I spent talking about Project Horizons. Including the first video, which was like, here's kind of my overview of the story. Here's what I remember from it. These are the biases I am taking in while rereading, and this is the lens I kind of want to reread the story from. I think I spent about 13 hours of Project Horizons. And that's only volume one. And the chapters are only going to get longer, which means there's only going to be more to say. And knowing some of the shit I'm in for, there's only going to be more to complain about. But also a lot of really interesting shit to analyze, both at face value and from the lucidity lens. So if you haven't watched my Horizons videos, what my intention here is I want to reread this story because this is a story that is very important to me because it's something I both really, really like and really, really hate in kind of equal measure. I really like the main cast for the most part. Blackjack herself is very hit or miss for me. I like a lot of the setting and a lot of the story beats, but there's a lot of character moments that just bother me. There's a lot of story beats that really bother me. The overall construction of the narrative is something I've always really appreciated, where I'm like, "No, there's a lot of foreshadowing that's going on that you're just not super aware of at the time, but rereading it, I'm like, "Oh, this is like that line is diabolical. That line is crazy. Oh, this is here because it sets up this or sets up this." Yo, like, the construction is actually, like, really solid. It's just a lot of the execution, no pun intended, I'm not an executioner. Um, a lot of the execution though, to me kind of stumbles. And I wanted to reread it just have I been too harsh to it these 10 plus years? Have I been too kind to it these 10 plus years? And I also wanted to reread it under another lens with another interpretation that nothing in Project Horizons is actually happening. This is all in Blackjack's head, and that's not completely out of nowhere. Excuse me. There is a chapter around the midway point. I wanna say it's like 43, 44. It's somewhere in, like, the early 40s called Lucidity, and Lucidity is a chapter where Blackjack is in, like, a mental institution. I think it's called Happy Horn, is that right? And while she's in there, she's being psychoanalyzed as, so like, "No, no, 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 you are in a mental institution. You've been in a mental institution the entire time because of a very tragic thing that happened." Like, she was sexually assaulted by a classmate, and what she is told by the head, I don't know if the warden is the right word, but the head of the institution is, "The wasteland is your delusion, and every person in there, and, like, every event in there is it represents someone you know or something that happened to you. Like Deus, that dude that was like chasing you for a long time, he's one of the orderlies that's been trying to take care of you that you hurt really, really bad. You know, me, I'm the head of this institution. So in your head, I was this big important figure in the war who had all of these secrets and was someone you couldn't trust because you don't feel you can trust me, etc., etc." And I remember reading it when I got to that chapter and thinking, this is a really interesting idea. Now, there's a lot of unresolved shit here. So clearly, this is not the case. Like, this is Project Horizons isn't just going to end right now. But what if it did? Or it's like, what if this was saved till the very end? And then when you actually get to the very end where she's fighting the eater, and I just remember as I was reading, I was like, this just feels like the bio lizard fight. And then I put on Live and Learn while I was reading the final chapter. Um, it's like they're kind of doing the same thing again, and it's not working because this has already happened. And even Blackjack's like, yeah, that this happened like 40 chapters ago. If you like, why are we doing this again? And I remember thinking, what if we didn't? What if we saved lucidity for right now? That would be interesting. What if it's really something where you kinda give it to the audience to sit with. Almost kinda like the ending of I don't remember if I brought this up in any of my Horizons videos. I feel like I did, kinda like the ending of Life of Pi, where it's like, here's the story of me and this tiger, Richard Parker, and everything, and I think at the very end, he's like, "Okay, here's another version of the story. It was me, the cook, my mom," and I don't remember who Richard Parker was. It might have just been, like, his imaginary friend, because I think the idea was the cook killed my mom, and then I killed him, and then I was alone on a raft for this amount of time. What do you think is the better story? That or me and the tiger? And that's kind of the lens I want, like that saving it for the end kind of gives you that feeling of, huh, which story do I prefer? What's more interesting? What do I like more? And so I wanted to read Horizons from that perspective of what if this is going on? Does that hold up? And that's kind of one of the big things is number 1, does that actually have foundation in the text? Or is it just kind of some bullshit that happened halfway through and then later at the end? And 2, if there is foundation, does it make the story more interesting? And as I read through part 1, I was genuinely shocked at how much, like, credence this had. Just a lot of lines of dialogue where I was like, "Huh." At face value, I read it like this, but from this perspective, "Oh, it's so interesting," or like, "This is so heartbreaking. Oh, that's what this character represents." Like, Deus isn't just the orderly, like, this is because of him being like constantly trying to have sex, and like it's the only thing that keeps him going. Like he is the embodiment of lust. And because that's what happened to Blackjack, that's why like he is someone that is chasing her and is like so oppressive in his presence. The fact that Steel Rain is the one who assaulted her, that's why in this story he's always betraying people because Blackjack doesn't trust him because he betrayed her trust. Ah, that's really interesting, and there's just a lot of things like that. the fact that I think P21 and Glory both represent Blackjack. Like P21 is her after the incident, Glory is her before. Glory is her both before and kind of like immediately after, whereas P21 is more a bit longer after. I'm like, no, this actually makes a lot of sense because of this shit and this shit and this shit. And the more I started reading it with that lens, the more I kind of genuinely started thinking this might have been intentional. And I will be honest, at face value, got problems. This is the big problem. There's Blackjack is annoying to me. Like, I really like her base personality. I think she can be very fun. I think like the action scenes are really cool. But as I often said, it's really hard. Honestly, it's really hard to strike that balance between cool devil may care action hero who just wants to drink whiskey, have sex, and blow off people's heads with a character who goes, "But I'm not an executioner and I don't kill people, and I think killing people is wrong, and I will always give them a second chance." Boom, 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 just kills 10 people, but I'm not an executioner. It doesn't work. And there's a lot of moments like that that just don't work. But when I look at it under the lucidity lens, I'm like, this is a lot more believable. Like this is someone saying like I want to have my own second chance. I don't want people to just see me as a victim. So in this world, she's incredibly strong. She is super badass. All this shit is happening to her, but she just keeps going. So because she can overcome it, but there's also just so much and it never stops because healing is fucking hard. And it goes from being this story that is never quite sure of its identity. Again, at least as far as volume one goes, if it's again trying to be this really cool action story or this, I guess, character study into this is a really interesting character study. At face value, I might put it in B or C, maybe even D. I don't think I would put it in F. Like it's really not. I think C for face value. No, I'd probably put it in B. I because I do have a good time with it. Like there's still a lot of stuff that I like, even at face value. Play is an amazing chapter. It's so fucking cool. Walk the Hard Road is a really good chapter. I think the first chapter is still pretty good. There's that one scene, like, when she's with Rose and she's, like, holding the gun in her hand, it's like, "Give me a reason. Give me a fucking reason to pull the trigger, and I will do it." And in her head, as she's been, like, counting all the people she's killed in this chapter, she has the number up 1 more. She's like, I know I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna do it." And then is able to show mercy. Like, there's moments that work. Through the lucidity lens, it's up here. I love Lucidity Lens Prophet Horizon so far. Like, it's incredible to read. I don't know if I would quite put it up there. Maybe we'll see. So I'm gonna put it in A overall to kind of balance. Of if the lucidity lens is up here and face value is more here, I'm gonna put it in the middle. Okay, then we have Look Back. So Look Back is I also have this in the film section because it's a short film that came out this year, and I heard about it, thought it sounded really cool. So actually, no, wait, did I hear about the movie first? I think I was reading something just about Kishimoto, like I was on a chainsaw. No, no, no. I remember now. I remember now. I saw a video that was talking about Look Back and, kind of giving an analysis like how it, really resonated with that person. I was like, this sounds really interesting. So I read it, loved it, then found out I was getting an adaptation. I was like, cool. I'm gonna watch the adaptation when it comes out. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It is it is a story about creativity, it's about passion, it's about comparison and how comparison is not good and not healthy, and about being stuck in a rut where you don't feel like you're improving anymore, and it's so frustrating, and you just kinda wanna give up. But when someone tells you how much they like your work, that they see you. They see the effort you put in. They see the improvement that even maybe you don't see in yourself. And they see the quality in what you do. And then you just get that dance in the rain after where she's got her mojo back. She's got her flow back. I've lived that. And it is an incredible feeling. Um, the ending is definitely very sad. It made me a very sad boy. I don't think I cried. I don't think I cried during the book or like, the comic or the film. Maybe I did during the film, like, it wouldn't surprise me, I just don't think I quite did. You know the movie I cried during? Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about The Fall. Um, no, it's great, I'm just gonna put it in S. Like, oh, put it in A. Hold up. Did I enjoy it as much as I enjoyed Alice or Totoro? Hmm. Well, I'm gonna put it in A, actually. I think it's a very strong A, but I don't think I would quite put it up there. Okay. Here's something I'm gonna do, 'cause I don't think I've done this on other tier lists. I might have done it in when I was doing albums. And this is something I actually kinda wanna start doing. When I have these moments where I'm like, I don't know, like, I can see it up there, I can see it up there, I'm just gonna make a new tier. If I feel like this is kind of an A plus, but not quite an S, then hey, fuck it. Let's give it an A plus. And you know what? I wanna give Doom Messiah a B plus. Yeah, I kinda like that. That feels a bit more accurate. Okay, we ready for the next one? Oh boy, it's time for the next one, because the next one is Worm. So, I don't have, like, 30 things here of Worm, because I couldn't find, like, individual things for each arc. I know that's, like, on other tier lists, maybe I coulda copied them or something, I don't know. So, I'm a little torn. Part of me wants to just do like, all right, Worm as a whole, and part of me wants to go like, all right, volume one, it's up here. Volume two, it's up here. Like whatever the. This sounds really fun. I'll go back to putting them in B plus, so it's more in the middle. Actually, with all the stuff now, A kind of feels like the middle of the screen, so we'll just do that. Um, I guess trying to keep it quick. And no, I did not read all of Worm in 2024. I read the first few arcs in 2023, but I will just kind of go over everything quickly. I also don't know the names of every part because I read it on YouTube. I guess oh, my computer is really low on battery. Let me plug it in. Okay, so it would just kind of say like arc one, chapter whatever. It would be like arc one. What is arc one called? I think it starts with an A. It's like I keep oh fuck, I was like, it's not indigestion. Because that's not right. Like, whatever it's called, I feel like it starts with an A. I'm just gonna Google this. Yeah, fuck it, I got my phone right here. Let me Google this. This is bothering me. I feel like I should know it. Worm arcs. Not arca. That's not how spelling works. Uh, oh yeah, gestation. I think that's it. It does not start with an I. I am a my bad, yo. Okay, here we go. Chapter synopsis and arc synopsis. And they'll also have the names of everything, right? Yeah, here we go. Okay. It is not an I, it is a G. It is gestation. It's not ingestation. I don't think that's a word. Anyways, gestation, I'd probably give like an A plus. I don't think I would quite put it in S. Maybe I did in the tier list. I don't super remember. Yeah, I think it's a really good start and introduction. It's a very good introduction to Taylor's powers, Taylor's personality, the fight with Lung, and how immediately it's like my first night as a hero. I'm going straight like classic Taylor already. I think it's a really good introduction. The second arc, Insinuation. So this is when I believe she meets the Undersiders. I'd probably give that like a B. I think it's fine. I think it does a good job of, establishing they have a really good job of establishing Rachel. But it's just not like a favorite by any means, but it does its job. So arc 3, Agitation. This is the heist. That's an S. Like it's not easily my favorite arc. We'll get to that one in a bit, but it's one of my favorites. There's a lot of cool action shit. It's what really introduces the wards. I really like the wards. It introduces Panacea and Glory Girl. And if you've seen my Worm videos, again, thank you. You know Panacea is my favorite character. Um, I'm just also a sucker for heists. It's just like kind of does everything right, and it's just a lot of shit I really like. Shell, so that's Bakura. That is Bakura, right? Yeah, that's Bakura. Um, that one I'd also probably give like an A to. I just thought it was cool as hell. Um, that was really fun. I thought Bakura was a cool antagonist. I I think that's kind of about it. Okay, D is Hive. So I think that's when they assault the ABB, and then she has that second fight with Lung. Yes, that is 100%. And that has the eye scene. Possibly my favorite scene in Worm. It's not. We'll get to that soon. But it's the hey, this dude is unconscious, but I know the second he wakes up, he's gonna be a problem. And I know he can heal. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna carve out his eyes. So that way, when he wakes up, he won't be able to see. He'll be less of a threat. They'll grow back, so I'm not permanently harming him. It's okay. And then you've got Sundancer sitting there, someone who can literally generate a fucking sun and burn and annihilate anything, is watching Taylor in horror as Taylor is casually carving out a man's eyes. This is Skitter morality at its finest. This is an A plus because, like, I don't know if it's quite that scene is an S tier scene for sure. I do think it's a really good arc on as a whole. Arc 6 is Tangle. I think this is the one I really didn't like. Yeah, I remember really not liking this one because I just thought it was kind of bullshit and a lot of the stuff they were able to like the fact that they crashed the party and get away. It was like, no, I just don't buy this. This feels kind of bullshitty. I don't know, Chief. It's a D. It might be like an F. I really didn't like that arc. Arc 7, which did I say the name of this? Tango. Okay, yeah. Arc 7 is Buzz. So this is dealing with Empire 88. It's also when Taylor starts getting a lot closer to Rachel, when Coyle outs the members of Empire 88, and like it's kind of it seems like it's about to start a war between the two factions. And by the end, Taylor says, I can't do this. I'm not joining Coyle. Because I think that's when they find out about Dinah. And she's like, no, I can't do this shit. Um, A, maybe like a B, B plus. Like, I don't think it's as good as some like it's still good. I do actually really like what it does for Taylor and Rachel's relationship. I'll still put her around A. Then we get arc 8. That's extermination. That's the Leviathan arc. That is my favorite part of Worm. Like that to me is double S. I absolutely fucking love that arc. First off, it introduces the Endbringers, and I fucking love the Endbringers. You get a lot of points for that. Second, it brings an end to the whole Arms Master arc, and like all of his bullshit, all of him like playing fast and loose with the rules to get ahead comes to a head and he ends up getting arrested. I really like all of that. We get to see some people die. You're like, oh, okay, like, oh shit, Kaiser just died. This dude seemed like he was about to be the next major antagonist. Okay, all bets are off, and from what I understand, all bets were off. Wild Bow just rolled. Taylor could have died. She didn't. None of the Undersiders died, but they genuinely could have. And I give a lot of props to that. Uh, This is when the Undersiders learned that Taylor was going to betray them, and it causes that fall. Like, okay, we're finally getting this to happen. This was very exciting. We interesting, and it has my single favorite moment in the story, and that scene is when Taylor is drowning and Rachel goes to save her at the cost of her dogs. That is easily my favorite scene in Warren. It's a fucking perfect arc. Arc 9, Sentinel. So this is the Ward interlude arc. Probably an A plus, actually. I really like the Wards. Um, I think it's really fucking good. It also, I mean, it technically doesn't introduce Weld because I think Weld first showed up in the Leviathan arc. This is where you first get to know Weld, and I love Weld. He's best boy. Arc 10 is Parasite. So this is Taylor goes back to join the Undersiders, and obviously it's on more shaky ground. They do some really fucked up cool shit to Shadowstalker, and I think this is Regent's interlude. Yeah, this is Regent's interlude, and what a fucking chapter. That's easily one of my favorite interludes. I think like the actual like going to the ward's base and the fight, like it's pretty good. I just remember being really disappointed that so of all of Taylor's options, like okay, like she could go to the birdcage, she could be a solo hero or villain, she could join the wards now, or she could go back to the Undersiders. It kind of was like, all right, to me, the least interesting option was just, hey, I'm going back to the team because it doesn't even feel that tense. Like Lisa's like, look, I kind of always knew you were gonna do that. You're fine by me. Alex, like, I literally don't care. Imp is, I don't know you, so I don't care. But if you hurt my brother again, I will literally kill you. Rachel, like, it's more interesting with Rachel and Brew, but even then, Brian's like, it doesn't take a whole lot to really get his trust back. It's not necessarily by the end of this arc. It just, to me, didn't feel like it took that long. So it didn't feel like it was that impactful. It takes a lot with Rachel. That I don't mind. It just to me felt kind of too easy. It's like it's a B. C. I feel like Alex interlude alone at least keeps it in B. Infestation. Is this when the 9 first started appear? Yes, it is. Okay, so the first half, so remember the tier list I made had arc 11 and 2 has like here's the arc and then here's the interludes. The arc itself is like a B tier arc. It's fine. It's oh yeah, the merchants, they're kind of assholes. They're kind of a problem. It's also really getting into this is Brockton Bay after the Leviathan attack, which is shit I really like. Like dealing with the merchants and their party, it's fine. This is when Charlotte. Oh, I can't remember the other girl's name now. Oh, this is gonna bother me. Is her name here in the stuff? Because they're going for her brother. It's Sierra. I didn't even have to see it. It's Sierra and Charlotte. This is when they get introduced and become Skitter's minions. I like them fine. I will still say I don't remember if I've said this before. I think Charlotte should have just been Madison because the idea of one of Taylor's bullies being her underling and someone that genuinely becomes her friend, I think is a really interesting idea because they kind of play around with it a little bit here with Charlotte. It's like this is someone who kind of liked Taylor, but didn't do anything to help. And Taylor's like, oh, I could be a bystander and not let anything good happen. Like, I can let bad things happen to you too, but I don't want to do that. Let me be the better person. Her doing that to one of her bullies is a really big deal. And maybe Taylor wouldn't have been ready for it at that point. But it always kind of seemed clear that, like, Emma is the ringleader. Sophia is the genuinely terrible person. And then Madison is also kind of here. So if you're gonna redeem one of them, she would be the one to do it, and she just doesn't show up in the rest of the story, and I know she shows up later, so it's not that she died, she just was completely forgotten, and I think what I've heard is, like, part of her story is she, like, wants to be a teacher, and Charlotte's thing is she was looking after the kids, so that actually would make a lot of sense. Like, it's something that would have worked incredibly well, and then just didn't happen. Anyways, but, Arc 11, I think as itself, it's fine, it's like a B tier arc. The interludes, where we meet the Slaughterhouse 9? That's tier shit. Those are the best parts of Worm. Um, Rachel having to deal with, Siberian is really cool. Trying to remember what they all are. Jack meeting Theo and Purity, because I remember around that time thinking, "What the fuck happened to Oni Lee after the ABB?" Oh, shit. It's great. I love that introduction to Jack Slash. I love how fucking cavalier he is through that entire time. And it also sets up the, like, Arc 26 and, like, the whole killing game shit, so absolutely fantastic. Hook Wolf and Shatterbird, like, the part was fine. I thought it was alright. Armsmaster and Mannequin, I really liked, and just that whole he came after me because he sees potential in me. I hate that a member of the Nine sees potential in me. That's really fucking bad. Okay, so that's 4. You get Burn Scar and Labyrinth, which I actually really like. I've said it before, like, I'm a big Burn Scar fan. She's not in the story for very long. I actually thought she was a really cool character, and I really wanted to see more of her. That's 5. There should be 7. Or is it 8? No, sorry, there's 8. So there's 5. Dinah and Crawler, because Crawler is actually there for Noelle. That was kinda cool, and I just really like seeing Dinah's perspective and, like, just that bit at the end where she's like, "I'm a little bit closer to the outcome I want, which is wanting to go home." Cherish, and I talked about Cherish a lot, like, I'm a really big Cherish fan. She's actually one of my favorite characters, and just seeing how her power works, it's so fucking cool. It's one of my favorite interludes in the story, and then, of course, saving the best for last, Panaceas. Panacea Bones. Peak shit. Such a good fucking arc. Okay. So now we get to the Slaughterhouse 9 trilogy. So 12 is Plague. That is the Glass Shatter. Yeah. So that's when they actually make their introductions. They kill the merchants in an interlude. Shatterbird shatters the glass, and then Taylor with Mannequin. I feel like I'd probably put that one in like A plus. Like, it's a good arc. It's probably my least favorite Slaughterhouse 9 arc, but nothing against it in particular. 13 is Snare, which is that the no. I think 14 is the Red Mist. I think 13 is just doing the games. Let me see. Oh, that's right. This is when Gru has a second trigger event. So if I'm remembering correctly, a lot of this is just dealing with the 9 and dealing with the games, and then the second trigger event happens. And I remember at the time being very critical and being like, "I don't know, man, like, all this shit happened and no one died." Like, a second trigger event sounds really cool, and it was something I was theorizing could potentially happen. Like, does this feel like bullshit? Does this kinda feel like a cop out? I don't know. And as I continued on reading and really seeing how this affected Brian and how greatly his role in the story is diminished afterwards, it kinda does feel like a character death. I'm like, "No, no, 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 this is a really important moment." I feel like it's also like an A. I might put it in A plus. I wouldn't put it in S, but it's definitely an A plus. And then 16 or excuse me, 14, Prey. This is the Mist. So this is like all the distrust going on. This is like an S tier arc. This I think is really fucking cool. I think it's really unique. I just really enjoyed reading this arc and seeing it play out. My biggest disappointment is the fact that Hookwolf joins the Nine because, like, the really, this feels like one of the least interesting things that could have happened. Like Rachel joining the Nine is crazy. Alec joining the Nine is crazy. Panacea doing that shit is crazy. Colin doing it. I don't know anything about Noelle at this point, so I don't know how interesting that would be. But like Hookwolf, I don't know. Like you're taking a character who's already an asshole and saying, "Go join the assholes," rather than we're really seeing someone get corrupted. Especially because the way it read to me was less of I'm gonna join the Nine because this is cool, and it's no, he's still under the effects of the mist, and that kind of never goes away, which makes it a lot less interesting to me. But having Shatterbird as Alex pet, that's really fucking neat. I love that. Um, I really liked how close Jack came to turning Panacea, and also how close the Undersiders came to turning Panacea. And ultimately, she turns herself in and goes to the birdcage. I really like a lot of that shit. Also, the fact that this is when we learn how Siberian works, like, no, it's just William Manton's stand. It's fucking cool. Also, I know she's alive, but gotta pour one out. Rip to my girl Cherish, because wow, that was a brutal end. Oh, so that was 14. So I think 15 is Coil's a problem. We're going back to work for Coil and the stuff with the mayor and some more stuff with like the travelers. That's Colony. Um, I think it's good. I think it's fine. I'd probably put it in like B rank. I don't think I'd go like C, but it's like a B. It's all right. I liked it fine. It's not amazing. I could be wrong. No, 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 no. We don't get a chord here. We get a chord in the Travelers interlude. So yeah, 15 is fine. Then we get 16. This is the Coil arc. This also kind of goes a double S. Like I know, like Leviathan is my favorite part of the story. So is this. It is so satisfying reading this arc, like all the bullshit that Coil is doing. You see how he's gathering power, and like, oh, he's way more powerful than we thought he was. Not just in terms of what he can do, but all of his connections. This is dangerous. He's like, no, no, like the Undersiders are incredibly valuable to me. Skitter is expendable. Skitter is a problem. And the way he goes about dealing with that problem is really fucking cool and really creative. And the ways that she's able to get out of that, like, I love it. And I love the fact that because he makes like a double that is betraying everybody, or like he's able to simulate her attacking them. And because she's betrayed them before, they're a lot more willing to believe it, which means her having to argue, like, no, I actually didn't do anything. There's more weight to them believing her because of her previous betrayal. Like, I love that shit. Yeah, it always said I wanted to see Coil's defeat from his perspective, like of him keep flipping coins, keep trying to make other universes and nothing working, and him slowly but surely realizing I am in a corner and him getting more and more desperate. Like I wanted to read that from his perspective. But reading it from Taylor's is still really satisfying. And like, yeah, this is the first time she kills somebody. She puts him in the fucking ground. Oh, it's so, so good. 17 is, I believe, that's Trickster's interlude and is it's migration. This is the traveler backstory. This is an S tier arc. It's so fucking cool. I remember reading it and just thinking, I would read this story as just something entirely separate. Like if this was like this sounds like a light novel that would become an incredibly popular anime. A group of teenagers, 'cause I think they're high school. They might be college, but I think they're high school. Like a group of teenagers slash young adults are playing a competitive video game. They don't get sucked into the game, they get sucked into another universe. because superheroes and superpowers are fucking crazy. We're like, oh yeah, we learned about parallel worlds. This world is incredibly similar to ours, except we had 9/11. They have endbringers. Like that's an actual sentence. And it's wild. So they get sucked into this universe, end up getting superpowers, and are now trying to use their superpowers to be supervillains so they can make money and have connections in this world and to try to use those underground connections to go back home. All the while, one of them has a superpower that is slowly driving her crazy, and all of their powers in some way are reflections of themselves and the things they hate. Like Sundancer being incredibly powerful makes her the center of attention where she doesn't want to be. I believe Oliver's thing is like he's very insecure about his appearance, so he can change the way he looks. Noelle, I think, had like bulimia, so with the way her thing works, she's literally throwing up. You have you had Cody, no, Luke. Sorry, because I'm trying to think of ballistic. I think Luke's thing is that, yeah, like he's actually one of like the nicer members, like really trying to keep everyone together. But his power involves like throwing things away, and like despite his personality, he's one of the more violent members in terms of his power. Um, I don't remember how it really worked with Trickster, except like I know where his power is. Like he can identify mass and swap and teleport. I guess it's the fact like he has to run away from things. And then Cody, who's someone who is very much like stuck in the past, that's what his power is keeping people stuck in the past. Like I really love how that shit worked. I would love to read a story that's just the travelers or just this premise. It's so fucking good. And it's executed really well as well. 18. So this is Queen. So this is essentially the first half of dealing with Noel and a kid. I'd probably give it like A, maybe a B plus. Like it's good, but it's good. Like it's just being a fucking problem. Then you have 19, which is Scourge, and this is the end of dealing with Noel. So again, like the actual fight, I think is good. I think it's cool. What I love about this arc, the reason it is an S tier fucking arc, is all of the fallout. This is when people learn about the protected and specifically about your triumvirate and the human experimentation and how they're not as good as they seem. I think this is also when people learn about Cauldron, or at least they learn the name Cauldron. And like I think a term they use like the incestuous relationship between Cauldron and the PRT. You learn like the case 53, it's a 52 or 53s, but about how these are people who were experimented against, and that's why like their lives are fucked up, why their appearances are fucked up. And them breaking away from the PRT, this is when you get Emma's interlude and you understand why she's the way she is. And I genuinely found it really interesting. Like it's easily one of the best parts of the story for me. 20 is Chrysalis. I think this is the school. Yeah, it's the school. That's also an S tier arc. That whole bit where Taylor is just like casual, like she gets her identity is revealed and she just as full Taylor is just talking to Arms Master and Dragon, like, all right, I guess I'm outed. I guess we're doing this. This is who I am. She has her whole like I am Spartacus thing where she goes to leave. You have her confronting Emma, which is great and it's so satisfying. You have how terrified and broken Emma is when she realizes who Taylor is now. I really like Arms Master and Dragon just being like, we really don't want to do this. We're actually really, like, really cool with you now. We know this is super fucked up. I'm sorry, dog. And that last bit with her and Danny, where like she puts, I think it's like a butterfly on his hand, and he realizes like this is my daughter saying goodbye. It's beautiful. All time great arc. 21 is Imago. This is where Taylor decides I'm going to turn myself in, and she kind of has like these last moments with everyone in the crew. Like she has a nice moment with Gru. It is like, this is really sweet. I'm about to break his heart forever. She says her goodbye to Lisa. She's kind of makes sure that Alec and Imp can get on without her. like, all of that stuff is good. I think it works. The scene with her mom's grave, I did not cry. I literally only cried at like, after I finished Worm. Like, we'll talk about that when I get to it here. But, oh, man, that got me close. It's really good. I think it's one of those I'm like, overall, it's like a B-ish, A-ish arc. That scene alone, like, keeps it an A company. 22. So this is Alexandria. This is Cell. This is where she's getting interrogated by Alexandria, where Alexandria gets killed at the end. King love this arc. Like, I would say it's like A plus ish. It's not S. I love how claustrophobic it is. I love the power struggle between Taylor and oh, fuck, what's that dude's name? I don't remember, but the dude who was running the PRT at that time. And then the power struggle between her and Alexandria. I think it's really cool. I think it's super fucking interesting. Um, and nothing else to really say. Like, it's just a really good arc. 23 is Drone. So this is when she starts. It's when she. This is when she joins the wards. I think it actually kind of sucks. It it's like a C tier R. It's a D tier arc. I'm gonna put it in D. I don't like it. I found it really boring. Like again, like I want to like really get into shit like this, where this is like where we're doing all the behind the scenes stuff and dealing with the publicity. That's cool. I think for me the problem is, excuse me, we're starting to introduce like these other groups like Satyr and his stuff, which I literally never cared about the entire rest of the story. I'm like, look, we got the 9 that we're still waiting to deal with. We have Endbringers. Um, I don't like Cauldron and all this. Like, I don't care about you. I'm sorry, I just don't. And the fact is, like, she's joining the wards, but she's not joining the Brockton Bay ward, and I get it. That makes 100% sense because even as they said, like, that's a big conflict of interest. Like, now I gotta introduce all these other people that I don't know, and we're getting really late in the story to be introducing all these other characters, you know? And to be fair, like, we do meet the Chicago wards. I think that's during Noel. That's when they get introduced. And, like, they're neat. I like them. It's as Grace even says later to Taylor, it's you liked us, but you never loved us, even though you were with us for like 5 years and then for like 6 months. But like that is kind of how it feels. Like I love the Undersiders. I like the Chicago with one very, very notable exception, of course. Golem is baby boy. He's actually best boy. But like it's weird because I feel like a lot of the individual moments almost feel kind of fillery, but the idea of the arc is really important. So that's what I think about 23. Then we get 24, Crushed. This is Behemoth. I don't know if I would put Behemoth in S or A plus. I feel like if I had the list of all the S tier arcs in front of me, I might be like, all right, some of these kind of got to go down. It's A plus at least. I love the Behemoth arc. I think Behemoth is just really fucking cool. Like his kill aura is super neat. The fact that he's doing all this like elemental shit, like the way I imagine him. I don't remember if they said he had swords or if I just thought of it. I literally just imagined Ocarina of Time Ganon. That as an Endbringer is really fucking cool. Oh, I really liked that. This is when we actually get to see Golem. I think it's actually pronounced Gollum because they even make a point to like, isn't that the dude from Lord of the Rings? But Golem. And it's by the end, like, there's a part way through where I just kind of went, wait, wait, is this Theo? Is like I was really excited. I kind of like the way that's done, where you don't know who he is at first, and then by the end, like, yeah, this is who he is. This is where we lose Alec. I really like that. Not just the fact that, like, hey, we finally lost an Undersider, it only took 2/3 of the way through the fucking story, but this piece of shit who cannot feel empathy. Like he can understand and feel what people feel when he hijacked them. And this motherfucker decides to save someone else's life at the cost of his own. It's genuinely really interesting. Like I found it really effective. Also, it's the arc with Fierce, and I liked Fierce. I have not brought up Accord once. Damn. I love Accord. Accord is one of my favorite side characters in Worm. But it's also the arc with Fierce. And he left a really big impression on me. Even though he's only in like a few chapters, he's also one of my favorite characters. I liked him a lot. It's easily one of my favorite arcs in the story. Then we get 25, Scarab. So this is the one where there's the time skip going on, and then now that Behemoth is dead, we've got new Endbringers, and it's fine, and they fight the topsy-turvy gravity guy, which is cool, but just felt like filler at a point in the story where I'm not really interested in dealing with filler right now. Uh, to me, it's F. I don't even have an F on this list. Like, it's my least favorite arc of Worm. I don't think I'd say it's a bottom of the fucking barrel kind of bad. I just remember reading it going, this could have been an interlude. Like, I think you could have summed up most of this arc as an interlude, and not a lot really would have been missed. It with the exception of Theo, it didn't really make me get super invested in most of the Chicago wards. Like the gravity fight was cool, but is that really doing much for the main story? No, like I an Endbringer just died and we're about to deal with the 9. Why am I caring about a low-level gangster even if his power is cool? That's just kind of how this arc felt to me. It didn't leave an impact. Then we get Sting. Arc 26, The Return of the Slaughterhouse 9, the SN9K. SN9K, the S9K. The SNK, the fighting games and shit. It's also an S tier. I really, really fucking loved this one. I do think like there's the part of me that says like, okay, like no one really that important died. This was maybe a little too easy. But also, it's really fucking cool. I really liked the scenes with Nilbog. Oh, dude. Really like the Goblin King. I really like the way Jack is defeated. Especially reading one of Wildbow's Twitter, excuse me, not Twitter post, it was a Reddit post, essentially just saying Jack slash, what is the full quote? It's like, you can argue, you can quibble, whatever, but Jack slash doesn't lose to parahumans. That's kind of neat. And then when you really understand what the broadcast shard does, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Wait, but I thought his power was slashing broadcast because he's broadcasting the blade of the knife. Fuck, that's cool. Like, that's actually really creative. I like that. I'll admit I'm not crazy about Bonesaw's redemption. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. This is the arc. I haven't talked a whole lot about interludes for the most part, but this is the arc with Scion's interlude. That might be my favorite individual chapter of Worm. I remember when I finished reading Sting, I did my video like immediately, and I think I just talked about the interlude for like 40 minutes. It was fantastic. It it was able to recontextualize the story in a way that didn't make me mad, because sometimes when you do that, you're like, all right, this is actually what's been going on the entire time. It can be risky because you can either make someone a lot more engaged and invested, or they can go, this is stupid and I hate this. Um, it made me a lot more interested and invested. I thought it was cool as shit. Oh man, this video has been going on for a while because I've been doing this worm stuff. I still have a few things left and then a few things left. Okay, we might speed run some of these other things. But we are gonna go ahead and finish doing Worm. So 27, this is the first Scion arc. I think for the most part, the Scion arcs are all kinda gonna be around, like, A tier. Like, I Extinction, I think, is the one that ends in the fight on the tanker. Is that right? Yes, it is. And I remember that's when I lost Clock Blocker, and that one hurt. That one hurt a lot, and it was so perfectly done the way that death was. And I remember before it happened thinking, "That is the perfect way to reveal a character death. It's just like they're one of the Fairy Queen stands, and I think it's gonna be Gru." And it wasn't, it was Clock Blocker, as we find out later, that is where we lost Gru. And, mm, mm, that shit hurt. 8 tier arc. 28 is cockroaches. Is that the cauldron arc? No. Okay, so 28 I think is just like really trying to get the final party together. Like we get Canary, we get Long, Panacea. What was the name of her dad? Marquis. I don't remember how it's actually pronounced. Uh, yeah, the fucking Seamer twins the party. Shit was so fucking cool. The scene where they're all like sitting together and go in separate directions to see who the Seabird follows, and she follows Tattletale, and she's like, "You picked me." Is really funny. The cool arc 29 is Venom. That's the Cauldron arc. I think these are just all three A arcs. Maybe I would put the Cauldron arc here in S, but it's all really, really good shit. 30 is Spec. That's Kepri. Kepri is an S tier arc. It's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite things in the entire story. Just those last few chapters of Taylor slowly losing herself. I loved it. I just really loved it. And I really liked that final chapter with her and Contessa. And then we get the finale. We get General. Mm, probably put it around A plus. I don't think I would put it up here, just because for me, some of I wasn't crazy about all the epilogues, like all the shit with like the Seaberg and teacher. Like this feels more like you're setting up Ward than concluding Worm, and I get it. You've got a whole ass sequel you want to do and set up, but I'm just not as interested in. I'm not interested in the sequel bait right now. I want to read the sequel. I will get to it when I get to it, but I just kind of want my conclusion here. And like Arms Master and Dragon, I get it. It doesn't mean I have to like it. I really liked the Undersiders having that last drink together, and that's where you learn about Gru, and that fucking hurt. And I love Taylor's ending. Her dad, and her mom. That was really, really good. And I remember finishing Worm, and then I was driving to my appointment, like my doctor's appointment. I think this is the day where I finally got Adderall. And I remember listening to the song Human by fuck. The Killers. Thank you. I don't know why I could not remember the name of the Killers. But I listened to that song, and that's when I cried because of how much it really made me think of like Peppery in particular, but just kind of Taylor in general and her story. It was fantastic. Worm as a whole, so that was kind of the tier list for the art. Let me just put it up here. Like, let's be honest, this was my favorite thing I read this year, even more than my beloved Totono, even more than reading Alice. Worm is probably one of my all-time favorite works of fiction now. I don't know where it would land on that list because there's a lot of things on that list, but it's high. I feel like if I'm talking about my favorite like things I've read like of all time, I mean, I feel like number one is either Sea Cats or Muv-Luv. This is probably somewhere in like the top five, at least the top 10. Okay, so I'm just gonna put everything in the middle of the screen now. And we're gonna see if we can try and speed run some of these because this has been going on for a while. Okay, so I guess because you're the last thing I grabbed when I finished talking, we're gonna talk about Fate Type Redline. This is just super neat. It's a Fate isekai where a dude is reading a light novel, gets transported into the light novel, meets his grandma, who's one of the masters. She is the master of Saber, which in this is Shinsengumi dude who was in Ragnarok. Fuck, why can't I remember your name? That's so easy. Wow. Okay, Kon Hijikata. I can't remember his name now. Oh my freaking goodness! I actually have to look this up. I feel so stupid. 'Cause I'm remembering him in Gintama. It's Sogo, but I can't remember the other name, and that's like the name that everyone would know him by. Oh my goodness. Why can't I remember his freaking name, guys? I'm so sorry. This is bothering me. Okita! Soji! Oh my freaking goodness. Wow, I feel so bad not remembering that. Anyways, Okita Soji is Saber. That is the main servant. Our antagonist, well, I'm talking, let me start moving these two. Our antagonist is Archer, which is Oda Nobunaga. And if you know anything about Fate Nobunaga, Fate Okita, you know they're kind of meme characters, they're joke characters. Here's what happens when they get to be taken seriously. So I read everything that was available at the time. I really liked it. I liked a lot of the artwork. I'm a very big fan of Nobu. Just in general, like I think this character is really funny, like super goofy, but I just love her design. I think she looks so freaking cool. And so getting an arc where like you get to see this character design being dangerous and competent is actually really fun. I like it a lot. I'll put it in A. I had a really good time with it. Um, this is not One Piece in general. This is specifically Skypiea because Skypiea was the only arc I read. I'm just gonna like put it in C. I thought it was fine. I know there's a lot of people who love Skypiea. I think there's people who think Skypiea is okay. I wanted to love it. I was really looking forward to getting back into One Piece, and I just couldn't. I don't have anything else to say. I think I can kind of lump these three together because these are all very similar. Wait, did I not have Freerun on here? Oh, that's weird. Freerun was supposed to be on here. I guess I just missed it because the idea was like these are some of the manga that I caught up on. These two I actively finished, and then Nana and Freerun I caught up on the mangas. So this is a hard one because the hiatus was so long in between the newer chapters. A lot of the nuance of the events that happened were kind of lost on me. But I remember how much I loved the manga and a lot of the stuff that happened. And I liked the ending. The fact that like, the comet happens as that same comet was coming overhead in like reality is a really neat tie-in. I'm just gonna put it in A because that feels right. My Hero, I just felt like this arc was going on for fucking ever, man. Uh, I remember thinking the same thing with Naruto and like the final Ninja War. I'm like, I get it. This is the climax of the story. It's gonna be long. A lot of cool shit has to happen, but can we move on now? Like, I kind of just want to move on with my life and not have to read this every week. So I'm probably just gonna put it in like B. That feels kind of right. There's also it's really interesting to me. It's like here's the ending, and people didn't like the ending, so he kind of just revised the ending, and it was a lot better. I don't know. It's like he had to do it. Like I'm sorry, I'm just thinking like he had to patch the ending. That's the phrase I was looking for. Is really funny. I put it in B. Talentless Nana. So what did I read last year? Like there's the current arc where they're in that it's not really a prison, it's like the compound. I think that's all I read of it last year. and I need to get back on it to see if it's finished or, like, where it's at right now. Oh, yeah, I don't think I have Chainsaw Man on here. Did I not read it last year? Maybe I didn't. I don't I thought I did. Fuck, I'm sorry. Anyways, I'd also put Nana and Eggs, I really like it. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. This one I've read before, but this was a radio play or like a teleplay, like, I guess it was like an audiobook, that might be the better term for it. And it wasn't really up for evaluation or anything. It was like, I haven't read it in a long time, and now it's being voiced, and Harlan Ellison is Am, and he's absolutely fucking killing it, as you would imagine. It's really freaking cool. I'm also just gonna put it in A. I don't think I'm gonna put it in S. I don't think I want to put it in A plus either. I think I'm gonna leave it there. This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm also just gonna put in A because I had a really good time with it. It's kind of one of those stories where I think the actual story is like pretty good. It's pretty cool. I just love the use of language. I've heard some people be like, I didn't get into it. It was way too purple prosy. It was way too flowery. I get that, but that's why I enjoyed it. It was just like I'm having fun reading and not just seeing the story play out. Like I'm genuinely just enthralled by the language. And that's super fucking cool. I'm gonna put it in A. House in Fata Morgana. I need to add a new row just for you. You get, not Spoop, you get the Snoop Dogg tier because I dropped it like it's hot. I just couldn't get into it. I read the first 4, maybe 5 routes. I don't remember. Okay, so there was the siblings, the Beast, Jacopo, I think was his name, and then I think it was like the Master of the House and whatnot. And I didn't hate it. I can definitely see the appeal. I can see why people really like it. I think the art is incredible, but it just never really clicked with me. And at some point, I was like, I think I'm done. I'm just kind of gonna look up what happens. It seems kind of interesting, but I don't know if I really would have enjoyed it. I'll be honest. It's all right. The last that we have is Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. It's another VN I read. I think I described it as like it's just like an anime version of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I really like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I really like Marco and the Galaxy Dragon. I'd also give it an A. I had a really good time with it. Um, I think I made a full video on. I think I made a video on you. You. I might have done one on you. I know I did one on you. You. A lot on you. I think most of these I did full videos on, and that yeah, I think that's basically it. That's my reading tier list. That's the second part of it. I think the first video I did was like 10 minutes. This was an hour and a half because of course it was. And even trying to keep it concise, I think if I hadn't gone through every arc of Worm, I would have done a pretty good job of that. So that's this tier list done. I think what I am going to do now is I'm going to stop. I'm going to break. Time is it? It's almost 11 where I'm at. So I don't think I'm going to quite break for lunch, but I will break, chill for a bit, and then hopefully in like an hour, 45 minutes or so, I'll get back on and see if I can go over video games. So if you showed up at any point during the stream, thank you. I appreciate you stopping by. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you. I appreciate you watching this. Excuse me. Hope you have a good day, good week, all that good stuff.